Hi there, Steph from Steph Made It For You. So today's video is to show you how I created a Hello SVG. I had a little trouble when recording the video and it did not record the audio for the first part, so I'm doing a voiceover on top. At that point, I'm in Krita. I've opened a new document. So the size doesn't really matter, it's entirely up to you. And I'm about to insert a hand lettering practice sheet just with the lines, so it enables me to write straight, because obviously I'm no machine, and it's really hard to write straight when you don't have a line to kind of guide you. So in order to do that, you have to go to layer and insert, and then you go and select your document. So that's the document I inserted, and I leave it at the size it is. I'd rather zoom in rather than stretching the document. It's just I've tried both and I find that it works better for me to zoom in at 200% than stretching the document. I'm not 100% sure why, but that's just how it works. I think it's to do with the tablet I used to write on the screen. So I've zoomed in at 200% at that point. I am using a Wacom tablet, which I think I'll show you a bit later on in the video. It's a, I'm going to say it's a basic tablet. I think it was about 50 or 60 pounds. So it's not fancy, it's not very expensive. The software I'm using is called Krita. It's an open source software, so it's free. You can download it off the internet. They do welcome donation if you can, so that's entirely up to you, but if you can. But if you think about hand lettering, I've seen a lot of people doing hand lettering on iPads and using Procreate and things like that. And personally, if it's just for that purpose, then it's probably a bit expensive. If you have an iPad, then that's great. But yeah, so that's my more affordable alternative to having an iPad, assuming you have a computer already to start with. So I'm using a paintbrush to do my hand lettering. What you can't see is that there's small windows that I open that for some reason are not recording by the software, but basically where there is a paintbrush at the top, next to it there's an icon with 4 little squares, and if you click on that you'd see all the different kind of brushes available. I have edited one of the brushes. I didn't edit it, I copied it and then I edited it. So the original one will do that shape that you can see, so it's a round brush shape, straightforward. I wanted a slightly flatter one, so if you look at that icon right now, you can see that it's not quite round, it's more like a squished oval. And I've just changed that. I did fiddle quite a bit, so you have to have a look and fiddle and try and see what works best for you. But it is possible if you want to kind of have a bit more of a hand lettering look to your writing, then you can definitely slightly change the shape of your brushes. But I would definitely recommend to copy the brush rather than just edit the one that's already there, because then if you're not happy with it, you have to go and reset all the brushes, and that was a bit tricky. There's not a whole lot of Krita video. There are some Krita videos out there, but I find it a bit tricky. I did manage to do it, but I find it a bit tricky. So then in terms of size, because I zoom in at 200% when I write, I change the size of the brush to 15 pixel. I've tried different sizes and 15 pixel is what works best for me. It might not be ideal for you. You have to try and see what works for you, but for me it's best. And in order to change the size, the brush size, instead of playing left and right with the, it's like a little lift thing, I just click on it and I type 15 on my keyboard, I press enter and it goes straight to that. So every time I get the same size, and I find it a lot easier. So here I'm showing you my tablet. It's not very big. I think it's a small one. They had a bigger one, but the small one works fine. And I work with a 32-inch screen, so it's a fairly big screen. But you never use the entirety, of your screen. So I don't know if you really need a bigger one. It works fine with a small one, at least for beginners. So here I've decided to write the word hello. And I found that because I was recording the image at the same time, my computer was really, really, really struggling. I have a basic computer. I use it for work, for personal stuff, and for work. And it's not a graphic computer. It doesn't have any very advanced graphic stuff. So it did struggle a little bit. So what I will do is I will show you one hello, which turned out terrible. And then I paused the video and did a few more hello, and then I come back to you to tell you more about it. And I think that's about the time where I realized that the audio was gone. So I will skip up to that point, so then you see all my hello, but I kind of wanted to choose the first hello because I wanted to show you that it's not because the first one is terrible that the other ones have to be terrible as well. So it's kind of a, let's think of it as a motivational hello. The her starts okay and then it goes really badly because it's really slow. I don't know, you can't really realize because you don't know what it normally looks like. But I can tell that it's extremely slow, and because my hand is going a lot faster than the computer, then the shape is not quite right. And you can see my face here. I'm a bit disgruntled thinking, what's happening? So yeah, so I will move that, skip that forward so you can see it happening, but I will, you know, zip through it and then meet you again once I have a few hello that I can actually get some work done with. Alright, so at that point I got 5 hello. The first one was pretty disastrous, and here I'm picking between the 4th and the 5th one, trying to see which one I think would work best. And I decided to go for the 5th one because I think it was the best one. So I've deleted all the others. You can use that tool on the left hand side. It's a square with dashed line, and you can select what you want. And you just select it and you press delete and we'll just get rid of it. Alright, so I open Inkscape for my computer. So Inkscape is the software I used for to do SVG files, and it's a free software. It does glitch ever so slightly, but I don't know if it's because my computer is just a normal laptop. I don't have a graphic card or anything like that, or if it's just because the software is free and sometimes it glitches a little bit. All in all, for a free software, I still think it's brilliant. So I clicked on file and import file, and then I have a new window which you won't see, but it's there. And I'm going to go find my PNG file that I saved from earlier. So once you do your file in Krita, you save it in Krita format, and then you need to save it as a PNG. So I'm now going to open the PNG version, and it's also really important that you save it in black because I've tried it in color and I don't find that it works as well. So now I have a tiny window which you won't see either, sorry, but it says PNG bitmap image import, and I leave everything as it is. I just click OK. So then you will have a new image that will show up. It does take a few seconds, you have to let it think. Yeah, so here's my image, and then on the right hand side that trace bitmap little tiny window that will open. So you just need to click update, and then you need to click apply, and you will see, you see that hello with the big rectangle around it. The rectangle is going to shrink just to the word, and that's when you know that it's working here just now. So you know that this little hello is your SVG version. That big hello is your PNG. We don't need it. I press delete on my keyboard. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and I'm going to stretch my file out. So in order to stretch your file, but not too much one way or the other way, you need to click the control key on your keyboard and then one of the side arrows, and you will keep its proportion. And look how big, and it's still really crisp. I really like that. So one thing that I find though is when you do transfer a file from a PNG to Inkscape, it loses a lot of its, I don't know if you can see here, but it's not sharp. The angles are not sharp. That angle is not sharp, nor are these. Here it's gone a bit weird, and it does that on pretty much all of them. So then I do the process of cleaning my SVG file. So I always do that. So I double click and it will show me all the vectors. So I tend to zoom in even further than that because that's too far and I'm gonna end up straining my eyes. So I normally start at the beginning of a word, sorry. So So I'm okay with that, but I'm not happy with that at all. And I know it's not like if you were doing it on paper, you'd write the word, and if it's not good, you write it again. But here we're making digital files. I'm making digital files, which has then sold onto my Etsy page. So I want them to be nice. I want them to be crisps. I don't want people to be unhappy with them. So I do put the extra work, and it is quite a bit of work, but that's the best way to get a really nice, crisp image. So it is kind of like a labor of love, and I should probably tell you how I do it. Sorry, I've been so focused on telling you why I like it to be crisp that I didn't tell you how I do it. So here, for example, there's a main node, and this little bit, I'm not sure what they're called, they enable you to stretch one way, stretch the other way, give them a curve, and so on. The more you do it, the more you get used to it. At first I was like, oh my god, I have no idea how that works. What I like to do is take the little bit here and bring it back onto the node. Then it will give me a really straight line. It depends what I'm looking for. If I want a curve, obviously I'm not going to do that. But then I can see that that node and that node are not aligned properly. And obviously, because I do it quite a bit, I know which nodes are not quite in the right place. And when you zoom in quite a lot, sometimes it's hard to see. So sometimes you do need to go back. So you click Control and you zoom back out. And sometimes when I find that Inkscape freezes for absolutely no reason, I just click outside the Inkscape window on something else, and then I come back and it uncrashes, so that's good. So we're gonna do the middle of the the middle of the edge. We're learning phonics with the children at school, in primary school in the UK. So I do sometimes talk in phonics without realizing it. So for example, this node, I don't really need it because there's one just here, so I'm going to delete it, and that one will kind of take the same shape, but not always. So I pull that little red dot just to get the edge a little bit back, and then you can pull that one as well, and it's kind of like it's a two people work, a teamwork. You have to pull both to kind of get the effect you want. Not always, but sometimes. So this one, for example, just here, as no purpose for me here. So I want to pull that a bit higher because it should really, hang on. So I'm going to bring that back down because it's creating kind of a curve, and I don't want that curve. So, you know, if you write your edge like that and you follow here, then this line should be in line here. And the same way, if you go up and you follow here, this line should be in line. So that should be a little bit higher. And the reason I take all the nodes, what I call the unnecessary nodes, off is because even though I move that one up, because there is a node here, and sometimes they move together and sometimes they don't. This one is not doing what I want, so I select it and I delete it. And then if I need, I will pull that a little bit. And yeah, it is time consuming. I'm going to save my document because I haven't saved it yet, and that's kind of important. So I'm going to find my file. And when he saves it, you will see here, oh actually it probably won't show, but when you save it as, and you put your file name, so in my case it's going to be hello, under it says save as type, and it says Inkscape SVG, and in bracket it does start.svg bracket, so that's the one I want. So I click save, perfect. So now I just have to keep cleaning. I'm going to talk you through it a little bit more, just in case you didn't get a good look the first few times. So for example, sometimes I lose my word. Here you go. So I use my mouse and I scroll up. So you see here, for example, that line is not in line. So what it tells me, I double click, it tells me that, yeah. So that one is holding it back. And it tells me that this one is not quite right. And that, instead of getting a curve or a straight, the curve of the straight line wasn't quite right either. So it's yeah, it's something you need to do, easy peasy. You kind of, you know, you can put music on in the background. It takes quite a while. So to select, instead of clicking on it, sometimes I just rather drag around it. It gives me a little window and I just find it over there. So here, I don't like that bit very much. I didn't think it was big enough. but I did write a few hellos. And I thought, it's okay, I'll clean it after or the next stage. So here, I want a pointy angle. So in order to do that, I need to get rid of the... I really wish I knew what these were called. I think the square is called a node. The other thing, I don't really know. So then you can drag that one as far as you want. And this one, I don't know if you can see it, it's very, very, very small. And when you're on it, it turns red. When you find a very, very tiny node, it's basically there's two nodes on top of each other. So if you try to drag it away, you end up with two nodes because there were two on top of each other. So you end up, instead of a really big one, they put two tiny ones. So you see how that shape is a bit weird. I don't like that. So I drag around to select it, and I'm gonna press here on that one, and it's like a curve with a round in the middle, a round node. So I click on that, and it changes. My node is not square anymore, it's round, and it will remove that kind of little weird pointy angle that I would have had otherwise. So I do use that. As soon as you move it, it moves back to actually, yeah, here we go. It moves back to some sort of square. But once you double click away, so I'll show you. I double click here. My curve is nice and neat, but if I didn't do this little round thing, I would have ended up with a little pointy bit, which is really annoying. Like there's kind of one here, you might not see it very well, but I can see it from here. And you see when I double click there is a node. So I select that one. I select the kind of rounded corner, and you see it makes it look nice and neater. So then I just pull it if I want, because when you do hand lettering, if you go up you get a thin line, and it's when you go down that you get that thicker line. So ooh, that doesn't look quite right, so let me zoom out. Oh, do you see my edge looks like a K almost? So that's because of this node. Look at this one. So I'm selecting that one, deleting it, and then I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna pull. So if you leave it at the top, it's gonna pull a bit that way, but if you drag it down, it looks nicer. It's almost elegant, almost. So then I double click in outside of the drawing, and I'm kind of, you see that corner here? It doesn't quite line up, because if you take your pen and you go around, that should be here. It should be a little bit higher. So I'm going to zoom in, and that's the reason as well for removing unnecessary nodes, is because when you try to move one, it's a lot easier. There you go. Alright, and because there should be a natural curve. Don't get me wrong, it's not the fastest and the most straightforward way, but it's I like it. I think it gives me good SVGs. I'm not getting back. I'm not changing my technique. I like it. Okay, so this one I don't like it too much. I'm going to take it off, and instead I'm going to drag that one a bit. Okay, and I double click. I don't see any dodgy kinks or crinks, or this one doesn't look right. So I'm going to double click here, and I'm going to get rid of that one. I'm going to try to get rid of that one. Sometimes I get rid of too many, and I see after, and I'm like, oh, that doesn't look right. So you can always go back. You do Control Z and you go back. Yeah, it's a little bit. Sometimes I do a weird thing. If you tilt your head, you realize it's not quite right. But if you look straight at it, you don't see it. It's very strange. And that's my edge. And I find the space in the middle is a bit snug. So you can go around and you can select a few nodes together at the same time. And I'm not sure if you'll see it. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Do you see how these nodes have gone like yellow and a bit of blue? So if they're all a bit like that, you click on one. Don't click around it or whatever. Just click on that yellow node, and it will help you move the whole thing. There we go. So that gives me a bit more space here. However, my curve is not making much sense anymore, so I have to move that back up a bit. There's a lot of trial and error, but I think that's what makes it quite cool. So I could select these two nodes and try to move them together. Yeah. There we go. What do you think? I think it looks okay. Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. I find that it's okay. I don't like that one because if I try to move, it's gonna mess everything up. So I'm gonna select all of that. So you can see here it's yellow at bottom and blue at the top. I don't know why. I think it's the angle of the vector, but I'm not sure. But just make sure you click on the node that's yellow or blue. A node that's highlighted. And then you can move the whole thing. But if, for example, I only highlighted that node and I try to move that, it's not like if I highlight that node and I try to just move that one, that's what's going to happen. We don't want that. So if you want to keep your proportion, you need to make sure that you select everything together and that you have the right color. I, from time to time, press Ctrl S because, you know, better save your work and be safe than sorry. Then I'm going to move to the E. So I'm going to keep that one. And I like a sharp angle between each letter. I just think it looks nicer. You don't have to do everything I say. If you don't like it, that's perfectly fine. And this one here, I don't like that sharp angle here though. So what I'm doing, double click, I'm moving that one here, but I'm going to pull the node down. And you have to make sure that these two nodes are kind of aligned, because if you don't, you'll end up with a kink, like a, you know, that little pointy, and once you click out, you'll see it. So here, I'm being a bit picky, but I can kind of see that it's not straight. So I select my node and I go to that round one, and sometimes it moves it. Yeah, it does that. You just need to place it back, but it will look a bit smoother afterwards. So I think it's still worth it. That one is going to create a kink because the two lines are crossing as well. So it's probably better to do that. There we go. And I think that's better. I don't know if you can see, it's a bit more natural. The more you do it and the more you can see how natural your curve. I think the more you write and the more you practice and the more you see where your lines are going. At the end of the day, I don't think anybody's going to go and say, oh, your angle here is not very sharp. So it's up to you. You are the artist. So here I want a sharp angle as well. So I'm going to bring my node back onto my square. Oh God, I'm going to bring it up a little bit. I want that to be a little bit more rounded, so that's good. You see that one here? Oh, I don't like that one. So I'm going to select that one, delete it, and then I'm going to leave that one. I'm going to get rid of this one, and it's this one here that will do the work, so I'll show you. I delete that. I don't need that one either. That one is a little bit too close. Just push it a bit. Not too much. And then you can pull that one down if you want. The same way, we don't need that one. It's a bit of a strange thing to say, but the less node you have, the easier it gets, because you don't need to move as many things when you want to change the sharpen the angles. So I'm going to select that one because I don't want it. And I'm going to select that one because I don't want it. And I want that one, but I want it to be a bit more round because I find it a bit sharp. So I click on that bit at the top, and I'm going to here a bit higher. This one does not have a purpose. This one, we're going to make it flat on one side so we have a nice sharp angle. And it's funny because if you have a word with two E's, you might find that one E is better than the other. So sometimes I just delete one and I use the other. It's for you to pick kind of what you like the most, really. You're not a machine. Handwriting is, well, some people have perfect handwriting, but handwriting is not always perfect. So I'm okay with the E, I think. I'm just a bit... I think that's too high. There we go. So this one here is not round. So I go here, and then I pull it back a little bit, and it will be a bit rounder. There we go. I think it's a bit high. But then the O is high as well. So we're going to leave it for now, and we can get back to it after if we want to. So here it's a bit tricky because I got two L's. And if your two L's don't look the same, it's fairly obvious because they're side by side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do both and see which one I like most. If they look similar, then I keep both. And if they don't, I delete one and replace it. But let's give that a go first. So let's take all of the nodes that we don't need. So I like to keep the nodes at the end. There's one tiny one here, you can't see that, but I can. And we're going to probably move this one ever so slightly and pull it a bit toward the top. Here we go. Pull it a bit on that side. Okay. I kind of like a bit of a flat edge because really if you think about it, if you did use a brush that goes flat, you probably get a bit of a flat edge at the top. There we go. Alright, so here you have a node here, and there you have two. You really don't need these two. Let's delete this. Here we go. By deleting the nodes that you don't need, you get a much smoother line. No, I do like that. Same for... Can we get away? We can get away without that one. And we can go without that one. We can get rid of this little one at the bottom. But I think we need that one, otherwise it will look strange. And I'm actually quite happy with that L. I'm not going to do the second one, I'm happy with that one. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to move these two. I'm going to zoom out. To show you that. Oh, I froze, so I go back, I zoom out. There we go, sorry, I zoomed out too much after. Alright, so I got my hello. I like my L. I think my L looks good. So, I'm going to select these two. Oh, I've only started doing that recently, but it works. I did Control X to cut it. I'm going to paste it next to... Oh, I'm going to paste it here. Sorry. Paste it. And make sure you don't click anywhere, but just on the node with the blue and the yellow, so you can move the whole thing together. Otherwise you just do Control Z and paste it again, and then go find your yellow and blue node, click on that and move it out of the way. So here you can see these two bits, yeah. So I don't know, we could call it the stretchy bit. I'm sure there's an actual word for it, I just don't know what it is. So I like the L, so I'm going to select my L. I'm going to do Control C. I'm going to click next to the L, and I'm going to do Control V. Here you go. Don't click anywhere, only click on the node that has blue and yellow, so you can move the whole thing together this way. Here we go. And then you have your two identical L, and when you look at it from far away, it looks much nicer. So what you need to do is, because this piece came after, these two are not attached anymore. So if you used it as an SVG as it is, it would cut around the L, the first one. It would separate this L from this L. You don't want that. So what you do, you could select the edge ELL, or you could just select the LL, and you select both, and you go to Object. Sorry, where am I? Object, Text. Where am I? Path. Sorry, my little icons are not showing up. You go to Path and you click Union, and your two L become one. And you can tell because if you zoom in here, before you would have had a line here, but it's not there now. So you can take the extra node that you don't need, you take it away. Take that one away. I probably don't need that one either. So this one now is not quite right, so you just drag it the other way. And get rid of that one. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can see better. Get rid of that one. There you go. There you go. There you go. And you have your two identical L, and they're attached together. So then you have to do your O. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the O first, and then I'm going to attach it. I'm not really happy with that O. It doesn't look right. So I'm going to first delete that L that I don't need. So you can select your node that represents the L. If you miss some, Don't worry, it's fine, you can go back. There we go. Okay, so this going crazy thing is because of the stretchy bit. There you go, you can take that down. I need to go find the other one because for some reason you went absolutely miles away. There you go, bring that one back down. You need to make sure that it's red before you can drag it back. Yeah, drag it all the way back. So what I'm going to do, because our O is not round, I'm going to select the bottom part and bring the whole thing up at the same time. Yeah. Okay. And because I've done O's before, I kind of know which, it's not normally that bad. That one is actually not great. I'm going to select that one. You could barely see that one, but I selected that node at the top and I got rid of it. I don't need this one here. And I don't need this one here, but I do need this one here. I don't need this one here. And then I can just stretch it. So if you were using your pen, this side would be thicker because you go down, thinner when you go up, thick again when you go down, and thinner when you go up. So this side should be rounded. Here we go. This side should be flat. Actually, this one is fine. I'm just gonna drag that one a bit outward. Wow. We're gonna delete this one in the middle. So you can almost like delete one node with two nodes, or you know, two nodes out of three, just to make it a bit easier. And you see already it looks much better. This one needs to go here because obviously, think of your pen. I'm sure you know, if you practice if you're watching this video, you've probably practiced hand lettering before. So you know where the lines is thick and the line is not thick. So here there's a tiny node, you can't see it. I got rid of that one and I'm going to move that one down a bit because that O is over the top. I'm going to bring it down a little bit. There we go. Alright, no, I like that one actually. Let's tilt that one a bit to the side. Actually, let's select that one and make it round and see what, here we go. Sometimes you just, instead of trying to fit all left and right and center, you just use that option, and I find that often it works. I'm going to bring that one a bit lower and that one a little bit lower again, but not massively. Is it okay? So here there should be an angle because you have two lines crossing. So there's actually a tiny node here. It was so small that I barely saw it. And that one is really not needed. It's not too bad. That bit I want it to be a bit skinnier because it's the end, and if you did it with your pen it would be a bit skinnier at the end. Get rid of that one. So if you're not sure, just trace your line, go around. This one should be a bit more here. Go around and here. That's not too bad. I find the O is literally, for me the O is the hardest one. It really is the hardest one. This one does not quite line up, so let's bring it down. And maybe make it a bit more of an angle here. Alright, what do we think? I think it's better. It's lacking a little something. Let's round it a bit to see what it does for us. Automatically round it. Okay, I'm gonna take a step back because I found, no actually I'm gonna turn my head because I can tell that it's not quite right. Sometimes it helps, it's the strangest thing. My husband would think I'm crazy. But here you go. I can see that these two don't line up just by looking sideways. It's very strange. That's better. Okay, and then I'm gonna make these two a bit further out, bring them further out. Oh, not too far, please. more of a curve because you want to match the line, the curve below. What do we think? Alright, save it, zoom out. Okay, so sometimes your letter that you cut and pasted will be inside. You see the triangle with the dotted line around? Sometimes it's inside that rectangle, sorry, and that's fine. Then you can move it quite easily, but sometimes it's outside, and that becomes a bit trickier. So you really need to make sure that you zoom out, you select everything, and sometimes for some reason it doesn't work. I don't know why. If you've tried to select it several times, did Control A to select all, and it still doesn't work, save it, close it, reopen it, and then it works. I don't know why. So I'm going to move my O, and I'm going to attach it to my L. And just look at the bottom and just make sure that it's kind of, so the two L's are lined up, but the E goes a bit lower, so I'm going to match the O to the E. And then you select your O and a chunk of your L, sorry, so at least these nodes are together. And then you go to Path and you click on Union. And here we go, it's all attached. So then you zoom in, you take off this additional node that I don't need, but just zoom in and make sure there's no extra node that you didn't see. And I like that. Let's click Save. I'm a bit picky. Still not quite right on that side. Let's just take it out ever so slightly. Yeah. Zoom out. Here we go. So the L's are a bit too long compared to the H. And I'm going to correct that. Double click until you know. What is it not? Ah, okay, thank you. Double click. Try to select my nodes. Computer says no. What's wrong with computer? Ah. Zoom up. It's a quite tricky one, isn't it? Because this one, if you get it in the middle, you're going to stretch the middle and you don't want to do that. Sometimes I have to do it in 2 stages. Let's try. Okay, let's try to stretch it. Oh, we got lucky here. So it's quite handy because the rectangle will automatically line up to the tallest letter. So you just have to stretch it to the line and then you know you're there and everything is lined up. The only thing I need to correct is that. So I'm going to bring that up. I'm going to tilt my head because for some reason it helps. And I can tell it's not quite... You see that node here? It makes a weird line. Let's get rid of that node. Don't like it. Here we go. I'm considering getting rid of that one as well. I know it seems a bit extreme, but really the less node, the easier it is to move things around. The least node? The least node, sorry. I'm trying to correct my English at the same time. There we go. And that one I think should be ever so slightly curved because it would look a bit more natural. There we go. Look at that one. Can you see that little bit here? Oh, it's so subtle, but it's there. So I select that and I'm going to the rounded one. And then I'm just going to pull it a little bit toward the middle. I think it looks better. And although the E is quite tall, I think it works okay with the O. So I'm going to leave that. I'm just going to bring that down ever so slightly. But I'm going to bring that up a little bit. It's a labor of love. It's not like a quickly put it together thing. Obviously, if you're happy with your Krita document before you save it as a PNG, then that's perfect. But for some reason today I can't make it work. And it happens, and I'm fine with it. You should be fine with it. So I zoom out, and here we go. So it's already served as an SVG, so I'm going to close it and just open it in Cricut Design Space so you can see what it looks like. And then I'm not going to cut it because I'm not set up. But oh, look, you see when I look away, I find that the inside of the O still needs improving. I'm just going to make that a little bit smaller. And I can see a tiny bit here, and I don't like that, so just a tiny kink. Here we go. Zoom out. Okay, it's not massively different, but it's there. Yeah. Save it, close it, and I see you in design space in a minute. Or a second for you. Alright, so I'm in Cricut design space. I have a Cricut maker, but I understand SVG's work as well in silhouette, so that shouldn't be a problem. So if I go to upload, and I'm going to upload my file, so you're probably not going to see the windows in between because I don't know if the software doesn't pick them up. So I find that Cricut, you see that one. Oh, how strange. So upload image, browse. So here's my hello, and because it is a .svg file, he knows, so he already detects it as a SVG, which makes it a lot easier. When you upload a PNG, the background will be different, so Cricut will try to guess the edges, and sometimes it gets it well, and sometimes it just doesn't. So here's my hello. I'm gonna add it to the canvas. That's my hello, that I drew on my own. And it's nice because, I mean, obviously it's time consuming, and I don't know how long that video is going to be because I recorded it in several chunks, but I've recorded about 40 minutes worth of video. I'm gonna edit some, it won't be that long. But my point is, if you, out of a word, you don't have a word, it's brilliant because then you can make it, or you can buy it from someone's Etsy shop like me. But if you don't find what you want, or if you like designing, you could get into that quite easily. Again, I think I've paid £50 for that tablet. And Krita was free. Inkscape is free. Cricut is not free. But if you know someone who has a Cricut, then you can ask them to cut it up for you. But yeah, here we go with the hello, and I can make it. Look at that. As big as I want. And if you give it a second, here we go. Can you see how crisp these lines are? So I know that Inkscape is time consuming, but how good are these edges? Seriously? They're really, really good. And if I zoom out a bit, or not, depending on if the software wants to work. Okay, I'm gonna make it smaller again. Here we go. And I can do something really cool with the offset, for example. So you could cut that out of vinyl, and then you do an offset of, I don't know, say 0.5. The offset definitely does not like the recording software at the same time. Here you go, you do one. It's brilliant if you have an intricate design, because sometimes Cricut doesn't like short, like skinny bits. With vinyl it's fine, but with cardstock, unless you have really good quality cardstock, sometimes cutting intricate design is really tricky. And I sometimes add a 0.05 or 0.02 offset around it just to make it that little bit thicker. But if you print it on a piece of paper, when I do some, I have notebooks that it's sold on Amazon, but they print it for me. So it's not a problem because it's just printed. So you can use SVG to incorporate within other designs. It doesn't only have to be within that. So, sorry, was a software as part of the design project. But I quite like that if you do that. You can pick a colour, make it yellow. You could do a rainbow. Rainbow would, hang on, let's do a rainbow. That one, and then you should do that one yellow. You can do whatever color you like, but I think it's quite cool. And it's like, you could make a card just with that. Just layer the colors on top and you will have a really nice edge. So I think it's quite cool. Actually, I'm probably going to do that later. I like that. I think it's cool. So anyway, I hope you find that video interesting. So again, the process is draw into Krita. You don't have to buy the Handlettering software. You could create a page where you put lines, just save it, and then import it every time you want to practice as your background, and you don't have to pay for it. You could do then you save it as Krita and you save it as a PNG, incorporate it in Inkscape, import it, do your cleaning up motion. Once you've cleaned it up, it will stick, so you don't have to do it every time, although it sounds like it's hard work, it's worth it. And look at the finish on that one, and look at sharp the edges are and how nice it is when you do the offset. I think it's really worth it. So I hope the video was helpful. I hope I gave you some hints and tips along the way. If you have any questions, do give me a shout. If you're looking for some SVG, I have some on my Etsy shop. And if you're looking for notebooks, diaries, meal planner, budget planner, and other things like that, I have some on my Amazon shop as well. And I think that's it. I said it all. If you did like the video, please give it a thumbs up. That'd be really helpful. And feel free to subscribe to the channel as well. Thanks very much for watching, and have a great day. Bye!